Are a fresh round of sanctions against Iran actually in the works? Well, that's what senators on Capitol Hill are predicting as negotiations between both countries fail to produce a tangible deal this week in Geneva regarding Iran's nuclear program. For his part, John Kerry had this to say on Sunday's Meet the Press.
We always said, President Obama has been crystal clear, don't rush. We're not in a rush. We need to get the right deal. No deal is better than a bad deal, and we are certainly adhering to that concept.
Not exactly pessimistic. However, senators from both sides of the aisle don't seem to be as patient as President Obama is. Democrat and Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair Bob Menendez, as well as Republican Lindsey Graham, both say that they're unwilling to rule out tougher sanctions if no progress is made. This is fascinating. We're still in the talk stage, though. When can we expect a more aggressive set of sanctions from the U.S., or can we expect that?
I think we can. I mean, certainly Congress is showing no signs of instilling a lot of trust in Iran and a lot of optimism in these talks. They don't feel that they're going to produce any sort of diplomatic solution, although that is the preference, of course. There's also a lot of Republicans who criticize the Obama administration's response to Syria. So I think they feel that their foreign policy has sort of been weakened, or their approach to foreign policy has been weakened. And so there isn't a lot of confidence in how the administration is going to deal with Iran. And not to mention, of course, the fact that these talks sort of stalled. What the ask is, of course, is for Iran to halt its production of enriched uranium. The negotiation on the table would bring it down to 20%. So that's enough to create these power plants that they say they want to make, but not enough to create an actual nuclear weapon. But again, that would involve the various governments to ease sanctions and to unfree some of the assets that are sitting Iranian assets that are sitting in foreign banks. So that's what they aren't comfortable with. France was the one that put its foot down, and then you sort of had Lindsey Graham say, "Well, thank God for France," because he a lot of these lawmakers again are just skeptical, and they're concerned that the administration might be giving away too much, only for Iran to possibly turn around and continue with its production or not stick by its word.
To what extent does Syria loom in this conversation? For lots of reasons, right? I mean, obviously, President Obama had a lot of moving targets with Syria until he finally put his foot down. People feel as if Syria was mishandled to a large extent. Does that increase the amount of leverage and pressure placed on President Obama? Does it change the Obama administration's foreign policy calculus?
I think it does. I think Syria looms in the sense of just the sort of chaos. There was this big announcement of possible military action, and then Congress had to come back early from recess and huddle and determine whether they were comfortable with some degree of military intervention. Then you had John Kerry sort of to talk about a possible diplomatic option where they would hand over their chemical weapons, and Russia swooped in and was like, well, we'll help make that happen. And then I think a lot of people felt that also, I think working with Russia wasn't exactly ideal for a lot of the Republican lawmakers who also don't trust Vladimir Putin, for example. And they weren't happy with the way that scenario played out. In addition, there's this renewed focus on Benghazi, which a lot of it is, of course, political. But the problem is that there's just so much scrutiny over the Obama administration's foreign policy record. And of course, that weakens your hand when you're trying very hard to convince lawmakers to trust us. Nothing will go wrong.
Right.
You have a lot of people resurrecting these recent, what they see as foreign policy blunders. I don't think all Americans across the spectrum believe necessarily that the Obama administration mishandled either Libya or Syria. But it's enough
to muddy the water and
complicate.
Yeah, absolutely.